It's what you would expect from a live action remake. Take a beloved animated classic, make it live action. If they're really lucky, capture 10% of the magic. So Snow White's the newest Disney live-action adaptation. This is directed by Mark Webb, stars Rachel Zegler as Snow White. As this movie was building in the first act, I was like, maybe it's not as bad as it looked. It seemed to be doing what a live-action remake in this capacity should do. Stick to the spirit of the thing, flesh some things out that maybe the original animation kind of fast-tracked. You get that in the beginning with Snow White, the story of her parents, how the evil queen rose to power. As Snow White flees into the woods, she stumbles across a magical land called the Uncanny Valley, where she hangs out with 7 cartoon characters we're supposed to pass off as live action. Gonna stop here and address some of the positives in this film up to this point. As you can tell in the second half, kind of takes a turn. But honestly, out the gate, I thought Rachel Zegler was good as Snow White. Setting aside the tragedy of the fact that Disney learned far too late to not give her a microphone when she's doing press for this film, I actually make the argument that her version of what the film was, per her explanation, it's not actually the film. Not love interest guy, poison apple, true love's kiss. It's all in here. Does she carry the film? I mean, between her, 7 cartoon dwarves, and Gal Gadot, I kind of say Dopey has the best moments of heart. She might win by default alone right there. It's not really a good basis for comparison. However, the stronger argument is the fact that Rachel Zegler had to play a character who was so likable that humans as well as animals both loved her. Had to have been very difficult for her. But I thought she was good as Snow White. If for nothing else, she has a really good voice. It's a musical, you do want a Snow White who can belt them out when the music hits. Gal Gadot as the evil queen. Didn't the internet love her at one point? Internet critics, everyone was like, she is Wonder Woman. It's like now she's just kind of hated by everybody. That said, I get what she's doing in here. She's trying to ham it up in that villain way. It's almost like she saw Raul Julia in Street Fighter and said, I'm gonna do that. However, difficult to do, many try, few succeed. Came across more as Uma Thurman from Batman and Robin at times. However, on the other hand, I felt it worked for her villain song, because those Disney villain songs, they are hammed up, but they're still villainous. I felt it worked for that, and pretty much that alone. The music is true Disney live action remake adaptation, where it's music you either recognize and that's your attachment to it, and that's why it's better than the rest, or it's original new music for this, in which is trash. Seriously, the first song went down and I was like, and the music's just gonna suck ass in here. All right, I'm now prepared. I guess that's why the Gal Gadot one stands out, because at least her campiness and cheesiness fed into the enjoyment aspect. But all in all, now we're talking about music enjoyment, in which just get the soundtrack or the original soundtrack. And by soundtrack, I mean stream it, I guess. Then after she's done being the dwarf's therapist, which again did work for, I felt was a touching moment for Dopey, she leaves the dwarves. Okay, you remember that picture in which it was like, hey, here are the substitutes for the 7 dwarves that aren't gonna be 7 dwarves? But the internet, and I'm paraphrasing here, internet said, how about not? Much to my surprise, those folks are still in this film. She runs across these bandits, those are the bandits. She hangs out with them for a bit, and now I'm in a completely different film. This movie, it kind of felt like DLC. It felt like Snow White DLC. You know when you get a new game, DLC being downloadable content, gamer speak. But you know when you get the new game and maybe you get the DLC for free, maybe it's day 1 DLC, maybe it's pre-order DLC, maybe it was on sale. But the DLC is now in the game as you're doing the main campaign, and then you accidentally jump tracks to the DLC, and now you're on this really involved side quest that feels nothing like the original game you were just playing. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but for Snow White. You're hanging out with these bandits you don't know, you don't care about. Granted, they do mingle with the dwarves for a spell, but you can't help but see it. 2 possible options going down here, my friends. 1, initially there were going to be no dwarves in this Snow White film. The bandits were going to be the substitute for the dwarves. The internet, again, paraphrasing, said, how about not? Studio panicked, refilmed scenes with the dwarves, and now you have 2 different versions of this film just colliding head on. Or this film, as it stands, dwarves and bandits both being in here, was always how it was planned to be, but they released this picture to fabricate internet outrage, because internet's gonna do what internet does, and no press is bad press. I don't know, I'll probably never know, but you can't help but see that Snow White and the 7 dwarves and Snow White and the 7 bandits are two different feeling films that are almost in competition on screen. I mean, the bandits don't have any real character, they're just there. And you feel like that's not supposed to be the case because one bandit references another bandit by name. And you're just like, I don't know who that is. And the way it's executed, you said that like I'm supposed to. Like the movie was filmed to tell me who that was. Like I'm supposed to know who these people are. Or give half a shit. But I, didn't. Also recut and relayered with the love story, because that feels half-assed as well. Granted, in the original animation, I've always felt that comes out of nowhere. True Love's Kiss, are you sure? Did you know her that well? Difference is, this movie takes a half an hour longer to get there, and I still feel like True Love's Kiss, are you sure? Did you know her that well? And boiled down, that's what this movie is. It does flesh some things out, which a live-action remake in this capacity should do, I feel. In the case of this film, it's bookended both at the beginning and the end, and I like that. But that doesn't justify it being as long as it is. It's about, I believe, a half an hour longer than the original animation. Should have taken 10-15 minutes. I get it's made for children, not curmudgeonous adults like myself, and I did hear a kid or two chuckling in the theater once or twice. Then they felt oddly silent, probably because they became bored. Even they were probably like, in my 4 years of experience in this life, why does this movie feel like it's two separate films clashing? In the end, for the whole experience, just a movie I'm not gonna remember in T-1 day. Yeah, just watch the original, I guess. You know what's funny? The whole magic mirror thing doesn't make any sense. Because the whole magic mirror, who's the fairest of them all thing was always, by implication, external beauty. It's a vanity thing. But now we're talking about what's in here, the internal beauty, as asked by a lady called the Evil Queen. How would that conversation even go down?
Who is the fairest of them all?
Well, lady called the Evil Queen, since we're talking about internal beauty, you're pretty much the worst. I think you'll have to wipe out every woman in the land in order to be the fairest of them all. Except for Karen. She yelled at the butcher's boy. Said, I'd like to speak to your manager now. She is just awful. But other than that, you're pretty screwed. Or maybe it is just external beauty, in which this would be the shortest film ever.
Who is the fairest of them all?
What, you mean between you and the girl with the Lord Farquaad wig? Pretty sure you're the biggest smoke show in the land. You got nothing to worry about. Rest easy. Alright, so the Disney live-action Snow White, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's a good Disney live-action adaptation that you really liked? Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.